approach is very one-sided and the balance needs redressing. Recently, Xavier Tremblay has taken over Homburg's position of the older Vesta and the younger Vesta. So more is at stake than merely questions of language. The topic impinges on the whole problem of Western chronology. It's true that we have cases such as Videvdat 17.7. I'm now referring to my handout example number 2, and this example will be familiar to those of you who were here yesterday, because Professor Schervo also talked about it, where you have in a Videvdat ritual this sentence which reads, "You should read a hole. You should dig a hole, a Western Magem, outside the house," and you get a quotation from Yasna 33:7, "Asha vohu mananha ya shrue pare mago ono." Now, it was pointed out already by 19th century scholars like Darmestaedter that this particular verse line is recited to accompany this Videvdat ritual of disposing of the nail clippings, because the word sruye sounds like another form of the younger Avestan word for two sorts of nails, and Magona suggests that the Avestan word for hole. This passage has been discussed many times since, but from the point of view of language, it raises the problem: does it imply that by the time the Videvdat mattered? Now, I'll come back to this passage later, but I want to observe first of all that the younger Avestan composers have been criticized on the basis of a very few examples such as this, and I was very heartened yesterday to find out from the talks given by Professor Schervo and Professor Hintze that we've all reached a similar conclusion, that the younger Avestan composers on the whole show a good understanding of the Gothic passages that they cite and can clearly analyze their language. For my talk, I surveyed all the examples of Gothic citations and reminiscences that I could trace from Gelner in the non-liturgical younger Avestan texts. Gives a series of examples where the Gothic material fits or is made to fit the Avestan, the younger Avestan context linguistically. The first one, number 3, of which there's two parts, A and B, show direct quotations of Garthus. 3A, we get a nice verse from Yasna 34:4 in honor of fire, which gives a description of the characteristics of fire, and this is incorporated in the Niyayashin to fire, and obviously it's totally again from a purification ritual. Here there's a sentence that starts off, if you think or if your intention is this, let me purify the plants, then pronounce these words, and there's a quotation from Yasna 48:6, which talks about the wise Lord increasing the plants through truth. Here there's some awkwardness, because in the sentence there's this pronoun achyai for her, which perhaps doesn't exactly fit the purification context, and we just don't know from this sort of direct quote what the younger of Western composers were making of this. But we have a lot less about their understanding of the language, because very often there's simply a formal arrangement of Gothic verses. But the one-line citations are often incorporated into a younger Avestan sentence, and then you can see very clearly that they understood it. Example 4 on the handout from a Gach 4, it talks about the truthful woman whose good thoughts are more plentiful than the evil ones, and whose good words are more plentiful, whose good deeds are more plentiful. And then you get the truthful man with exactly the same description, except that at the end of the passage, through the actions of whom the creatures allied with truth do prosper. I've adapted Professor Insler's translation very slightly. I'll show why.
Forgive you.
Thank you. In the original Gotha, this clause refers to vohu mana, and the authors are showing good grammatical understanding as well as good understanding of the general meaning, because they know that they can use the Old Avestan relative pronoun, the form Yehya, which is at the beginning of the Yasna 43.6 quote, with the same distinction between of which for inanimates and abstracts versus of whom for a person that we have in English, but a different form of the relative pronoun would be necessary in Avestan to refer to a woman. And so in this Gach, although we've got an exactly parallel description of the woman and the man, only the man gets this quotation from the Gathas, because it will only work grammatically without alteration for him. However, as example 5 shows, they do on occasion make minor grammatical alterations. And here we've got a passage from Yasht 9, a late Yasht in honor of the divinity Druvaspa, where Zarathustra, so that she enhances the reputation of his community. In the Sventa Manu Gotha, from which the last line is taken, it's a question of which family or clan will enhance will give good fame to my community. But here, the younger Avestan composer has adapted the passage not only by giving the relative pronoun who, a feminine form, that is in the Yash passage we get ya instead of ye in the original Gotha, but he also introduces the word me, meaning for or of me, because Zarathustra is here meant to be speaking in the first person. Even look at number 6 on the handout, which starts at the bottom of page 2 and then goes on to page 3. This is a passage from the Mach Yasht, the Yasht in honor of the moon, which is a fairly late Yasht in younger Avestan terms. I haven't quoted the passage in full, but I've just given you the beginning, but it's all about the moon's waxing and waning, and the fact that it waxes for an equal number of days to the number of days that it wanes. The whole passage appears to be based on the line from Yasna 44, with which it ends, sorry, that's the line in italics at the bottom of the page. Zarathustra asks, who sets the path of the sun and the stars, who holds the earth from below and the heaven from falling down. I suppose there's the possibility that the actual quote was added by a later redactor who recognized the source of the passage. But what's interesting from a linguistic point of view is that at the end of the Gothic line, there's an adverb, zvat,